Eric Mwathe. Before the close here, I want to take a look at the stock ATHM, which you had mentioned in a text message asking questions about timing there, so we're going to discuss that. But for now, we see the Dow down about 263 points, and earlier I'd sent you a text message question asking whether you could explain from a technical standpoint why the Dow is down that much. So let's take a look at the Dow, the market, and I gave you the answer, so you know the answer is number one. Let's just go to the daily. Today we are seeing the Dow move below 50 on the daily time frame, and that is why we are having this relatively big down day. So I've been, and I do talk about this extensively, the fact that when markets move above and below major areas on the RSI, you get some type of change in sentiment and psychology. Here we see the S&P 500, the biggest down day in a while, in fact since October, this being December 10th. It shows you that by moving below 50, that's the technical reason why the market is having such a big down day. The same thing can be said about the Dow transports. Today we see them clipping below 50, and hence we are having a big reaction in the market. Let me take a look at the Nasdaq daily here, see where it's trading, and the Nasdaq is just now slipping to and trading closing below 50. So you have to be careful when markets are moving above 50 and below 50, because you get that swing, the big swing in price because of the way the RSI is calculated. This is something about the fact that you have to introduce a large number into the mix for the RSI to move below 50. So that's just how the math works. The RSI moves above 50 and below 50 when a big number is introduced into the mix. That's why we are seeing this big down move in the market. So let's go to the stock you had mentioned. And we can see here, you do acknowledge that the ideal short point was here when it moved below 40 and broke below that. That was last week. We also see that the stock was already trading at fresh weekly RSI lows, so it's still could go lower. And we can see that even the MACDs, or at least one of the MACDs, is below zero and also trading at all-time lows. So the momentum here is absolutely bearish. Now the question was, can you still go short? And you had asked a question from a timing standpoint, if you can wait for the stock to break this daily closing low. I believe it's somewhere here. Yes, I say you can wait for the most recent daily closing low to be breached. If it breaches that recent daily closing low after 2 days of rest above that price, then you can consider that short. You also asked whether if that would also coincide with the RSI going below 30.90, and if that would be another reason. I say yes. Of course, when stocks are trading below 30.90, it just means that they are bearish and could actually see lower prices. Another thing I do note here, there's a break of a trend line there. So you can actually just take the short even here, and I'll show you why. Because you can see that there was a recent break here which led to this move from here. So you can draw a straight line like that from that break. So let me just do that again not to confuse you. So I'm going to draw two lines. One, the prior lows line, and we're going to draw a straight line from there. So we can conclude this. As long as the market is trading and the stock is trading below this line, which is this shaded area, as long as the stock is trading below this area, it is trading below the most recent break, and that suggests to me that lower prices. So you can short it with the idea that if it's trading below this and trading in the red zone, then it should see lower prices. Now I want to take a look. We had discussed via text message why I think you can actually go short here, and I was explaining to you, it was hard to do that via text, that there was a break recently here. So this break is responsible for this move lower. So we simply draw a straight line like that. Oh, maybe you can draw it like that. That's one way. Actually, you know what? I realize I'm just drawing this wrong. Let me draw that again. See whether it makes sense. So there was a break of the lows line there actually. So let me use this one because that's the one I was looking at. So connecting this line, there was a break, and that break was responsible for this move here. And since then the stock has been down. We take that. Let me change colors here so we can see what we are doing here. Let's take a red color. You can see that, draw a red line, straight red line. We've hit that line once before and it was this high, and now we've did the same thing earlier this morning and found resistance there. So this is where short term you can go short because it is failing. In other words, it is holding below this red zone where it's been trending low and making fresh lows ever since this break there. So as long as the stock is trading below here on the hourly, it's a short, which would coincide with the fact that the daily would also be trading. So let's go to the daily. Well, maybe not. All right, so the daily would also coincide with the daily trading below the prior breakpoint like that. So the daily trading in this zone is bearish. So yes, you can take the short, and really it's not, you shouldn't really pull your hair in trying to make these types of decisions because you can always set a stop once you go in. If you are wrong, you get stopped out. But it's good consideration. But then again, we are looking at a market environment. So the other thing that I need to go back to is this market, because the market environment is changing slightly. We see here that the Nasdaq is confirming resistance where we had been expecting resistance. That's not a good sign in terms of market direction. So you can start looking for short ideas. You can imagine this market has been up since 2009. Even a 10% correction will send stocks like ATHM down 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% over the next X number of months. So if the market is seeing a major high, then it should influence your thinking into suspecting that there's a downside move of bigger magnitude. So we see the Dow here also showing resistance on a prior line of consideration here. And the most recent stall came around here, around the red line, which was this high, and we had a nice pullback. And so we see the market showing uniform activity above the line, back below it, which makes this potentially important short area. So if the market is going to go down 5%, 10%, 20%, maybe even more, then pretty much all the stocks that you are looking at as short candidates are going to be down 10, 20, 30, 40% over the next number of many months. Take a look at the S&P 500. This is midweek, so we should need to be careful at looking at weekly charts. But as the S&P 500 breaks this back test failure here, and also confirmation of this top side of the wedge of this channel, then you are thinking that maybe this is a serious break in the market. There's another point of consideration, which is Nasdaq hourly chart. So we go back to the Nasdaq. Previously had closed at the end of November above 4696.69, which is the all-time monthly closing highs going back to 2000. The fact that the market is now back below that price means that this breakout has failed. A failed breakout can be notorious. Let me put it this way. Failed breakouts are notorious for killing markets. So if the Nasdaq continues staying below 4696, my thinking and our thinking should be that this could be a major high. Why? Because this looks like a double top. And double tops are notorious for killing markets also. So given all this, also given the fact that, let's say, the Russell 2000, take a look, the Russell 2000 is showing reversal signal on the line we've been watching for a couple of weeks. So this is sell signal back to resistance there, and also sell signal on this line. And you're aware of these things because we've been talking about them for the last couple of weeks. So the fact that the market is responding to areas where we had been suspecting resistance, you have to start thinking, boy, what if this market is poised to go down 10%, 5%, 20%, 50%? Who knows? So we have to start thinking short. So the stock you mentioned, in the light of the current market environment, which is a big consideration. Remember, 75% of any stock's move is based on market direction. Then you have to conclude that it is very easy for this stock to be trading in the lower 30s, in the mid 20s, maybe even in the teens in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Eric Mwathe, good luck, peace, and blessings. I am out. Woo!